Hello, visionaries, and a welcome to Manifest by Design, your live training event. So, what is Manifest by Design? What are we talking about today? So, we are discussing two really intense and beautiful and interesting and amazing systems. One is the law of attraction, and the other is human design. So there are a lot of contradicting ideas about both of these systems. So we're going to be discussing that. And first things first is I do need to, this is live. So I do need to just take a second to share this with our peeps. So if you can hear me and if you can see everything okay, if you wouldn't mind just giving me a little thumbs up. I just like to make sure before I dive into the meat of the intel. So
to both.
it's working? Oh, okay. My connection went out for 1 second, but it looks like it's working now. Okay, cool. So if you're here live, give me a hello. Let me know you're here. Say hi. Let me know where you're tuning in from, which part of the world you're tuning in from. So froze, but it's working now. Oh, cool. Oh, cool. Thank you. Hey, Megan. How are you, girl? Good to see you. Okay. Hi. Okay, good. It froze, but it's in now. Okay, good. All right. So what we're talking about today is manifestation, the law of attraction, and human design. So what I'm going to be breaking down for you is both systems. FYI, this is going to be for beginner human design people because we have a lot of new people in our group, a lot of new people to our channel and to our community. And so this is going to be sort of beginner human design. However, I'm going to be breaking down some really complicated, complex notions around the law of attraction and these two systems, the contradictions and all of it. So everyone will get something from it. I am going to be doing an advanced human design training. So if you're more advanced, stay tuned for that. Also, this is part 1. Part 2 is next Friday at the same time. However, it is not at the same place. So next Friday, I am going to be doing part 2. It's going to be a little more specific around human design and the different ways to manifest based on your particular chart. So to get into part 2, you are going to need to get a Zoom link for that. And so the information on that is going to be in the description. You need to just PM me or email me. So if you are here live, say hello and let me know where you are tuning in from. So Megan is Sacramento. You know what's funny is I don't think I remember you ever where you were from. Sacramento, California. Okay, cool. Very cool. So thank you guys for being here live. And I'm going to get started in just 1 minute. We got a little HD mug. Got a little HD art going on. A little HD vibe. So, are you guys ready? Talk about it? So what I notice is that these are two very, very different systems and two very, very different ways of integrating information into who you are and into practice, so into practicality. So the practical nature of human design is based on your unique strategy and inner authority. There's a practicality to that. So in the law of attraction, we're talking about how to manifest the life you love, right? So what happens is you're given a set of tools in the law of attraction. You're given a set of how-to, and those how-tos will not apply to every type in human design. As you may or may not, depending on your human design knowledge, you may or may not know is that there are only 8% of the population that are actually manifestors, right? And so manifestors have a totally unique way of manifesting compared to all of the other human design types. So the manifestation tools integrated through human design are really, really, really different. But they're not taught that way. So in other words, how to manifest is completely the rules and the how-tos about the law of attraction do not apply to 92% of the population. So that's crazy. And I think that was one of my first wake-up calls, because I've been trained in the law of attraction, been using the law of attraction tools, and I had manifested a lot of really amazing things in my life. However, I also had a lot of burnout. I had a lot of pain. I had a lot of bitterness that things didn't work out for me the way they worked out for other people. And I couldn't understand why. And I think that's partly why I was so driven to the human design intel, is because of all of the law of attraction work I did, and all of the spiritual work and meditation and all of these tools. And I am a firm believer that we are energy, we are frequency, and the alignment to our frequency does affect our reality. However, this is not talked about in human design. So I am also a believer that you have to know your human design in order to manifest. I mean, sometimes you'll have things that work. You know, you might hit or miss. You might stumble on something that will work for you for a while. You might have some good results here. But in the long run, and true satisfaction, true success, where your soul is satisfied and you're like, oh, I love what I'm doing. It represents me. It represents my soul. I'm digging it. I'm loving it. You really can't find that if you don't know your human design. Okay, so how do we merge these two things? What are their contradictions? How do we move through these contradictions? So the first thing I want to talk about is the contradiction that you have when you just know your human design and you just study human design, is that what they'll say around law of attraction and manifestation is that you are going after what your mind thinks it wants. Okay, so that's a typical thing that human design intel will say is in the law of attraction, you are setting goals, doing vision boards based on what you think you want, right? And that's a pretty complicated, complex notion, because the mind is always telling you what it wants, right? It's always like, you need to do this. I want this. You better do that, you know? And the mind is always pushing you to get what you want, right? And so there is a distortion there. Absolutely 100% the mind has a distortion, right? Hey, Lauren. Hey, girl. Good to see you. Hey, everybody who's here live. Thank you so much for tuning in live. Don't forget to say hi if you're jumping on and where you're tuning in from. If you're listening to the replay and the recording, no worries. Just type replay. We love, you know, I will respond to everybody's comments, whether you're here live or listening to the replay. Like I said, we're going to be doing part 2 next week, and I'm going to do that on Zoom. So it's going to be really fun. I'm going to go through a very specific part of human design, which if you haven't heard, a lot of people are talking about. There's also this notion of whether you are a specific or a non-specific manifestor based on your human design chart. Have you guys heard about this? So everyone has always been asking me, am I a specific or a non-specific manifestor? And this is based on your advanced chart, and it's based on your variables. So you're looking at your advanced chart variable, and I'm going to break that down for you next week. So if you have no idea what I'm talking about, tune into that. So we're going to go through the specific and non-specific and what that means for society, what that means for 2027, what that means now. I'm going to go over that next week in the Zoom. So are you non-specific? Oh, cool. And you're from Austin? Austin, Texas, baby. Woohoo! I know a lot of people in Austin, actually. So do you guys, everybody who's here live, do you know if you're specific or non-specific manifestor? Do you know what that means? I've not done a live public video on that. I've done a couple for my my certification course. So it's going to be new. We're going to do it next week. I'd love to have you join. Oh, you're from SoCal. Ah. Non-specific. Non-so. Oh, cool. Okay, Megan. Cool. Cool. So I'm going to break down the history of that, what it means. It's a really interesting topic. We'll do that next week. So today, I want to go a little deeper into this. So how do you set what you want if it's not your mind, right? So you're thinking about it, and you're thinking about the power of the mind, which is what they talk about with the law of attraction, right? So in human design, the concept is that the mind is the distortion. The mind is the distortion. And so how do you grapple with the complexity of that thought? So for those of you who are brand new to human design, the idea of living your design is to find out the truth of who you are, decode your DNA structure based on the gates, and based on your own contemplation. So contemplating the gates, going through the deconditioning by understanding all of the 9 centers, and learning how to live your inner authority. Your inner authority is unique to you and has unique power. I love it so much because we, from the minute we're born, we are disempowered to listen to our parents, to listen to our teachers, to listen to anyone outside of ourselves. And so when you empower yourself, as well as your clients, your family, your people in your pod, you empower someone to take back their inner authority, meaning you decide what's best for you. Don't do something based on what your parents want, what society wants, what you think other people want. That is not the basis for how to make a decision. So, and that is so rare, because even when we have the self-help and we go to our coaches and we go to the, the life coaching industry, the business coaching industry, the very first thing they're going to do is they're going to say, you know what, listen to what I tell you. I'm going to give you the system that works for me. You do this, you do that, and you'll receive results. Okay. So we are first taught in college to kind of, in school, then in college, then in the corporate careers that we go into or whatever we go into next, we're taught to follow the rules of whoever's in charge, right? So we disempower ourselves and we use our mind to think we know what we want. And so we're going after things that we think the mind wants, and then we're disempowering ourselves by looking outside of ourselves to figure out how to get it, right? So there's a lot of confusion around how that process works. So the mind is telling us what it thinks it wants. It's looking outside of itself. We need to go to a coach. We need to go to a psychic. We need to go to an advisor to get us to where we want to go. So human design is saying, no. Each and every one of you has your own unique inner authority and power within in order to fully awaken the direction of your highest life purpose. So your highest life purpose is being guided through your GPS system. So each aura type, as you guys have heard, the projectors, the manifestors, the generators, the reflectors, they each have a unique aura and a unique strategy. And then within that, it's broken down even more to the unique inner authority. And so what that does is it says, look, your vehicle intelligence has far greater power, knowledge, infinite access to who you truly are than your mind. So we do first and foremost want to understand that if the law of attraction or any manifestation tools are telling you to go after what you think you want, you're kind of missing the point from the human design perspective. First contradiction, okay, is how do you know what you want? So if you are learning your human design, the first thing you're going to learn is that strategy and your inner authority. And then you have to trust and you have to move into a place of surrender that the strategy and inner authority knows more than you do, knows more than your mind. Juicy stuff, right? So then what do? So you think you want to do something, but because it's not happening, it's not correct for you in the moment. So that's a huge source of surrender. You know, it's like that's the dynamic resistance that most of us are in most of our lives, right? Here I am, but I'd rather be in this house. I'd rather be over there. I'd rather be in a better job. I'd rather have $1 million. I'd rather fly on a private jet. I'd rather, do all these things. So we are unable to get into the power source of the moment by pulling our energy out of all of the things we think we want. So the distortion of the mind, in order to move into a higher frequency. Okay, so first contradiction in human design and law of attraction is that law of attraction is telling you to follow what your mind thinks it wants. Okay, so here's the other thing that you have to understand. Humans are complicated. We study a lot. We've got a lot of books. Where our minds are intellectual, and we like a lot of stuff, and human design is very complicated, and law of attraction can get complicated, and so the mind is all over the place, and yet all of these tools are actually quite simple, but it does take a bit of a study to really understand the depth and the complexities of how they're all working together. So when we're talking about the law of attraction, right, we do need to understand that there is truth to the law of attraction, and we need to understand where's that truth and what is that truth, right? So thank you, by the way, for all of your comments. We really love comments. We love hearing from you. So feel free to comment, even if you're listening to the replay. I'm going to read some of the comments as they pop up as I'm going through this intel, if it feels aligned, right? So Megan says this is perfect timing because I've been wanting to attract what I think I want, but then I'm not happy. So I'm in the surrender mode right now, trying to get more in touch with my authority. Right. What about coaches that use HD in their programs? And I use a lot of HD in my coaching programs. So let me talk about that in a minute. My brain tells me I want one thing, and my body tells me I want to feel joy and have happy. Right. Exact. And be happy. Right. Hi, Trista. It's good to see you. And Megan says, same here. So yeah, so there's a lot of contradictions going on, right? So the body for sure wants to be in its joy, particularly if you're a projector, you're going to want to be in your joy and playful and really allow that play to happen. And generators are going to want to feel satisfied in the work they're doing. They're going to want to feel that incredible power of satisfaction. And the mind is going to say, you need to go work harder, work longer, go make A, B, and C happen because we got to pay the bills and, all of that. By the way, if you guys feel like you know someone who should be listening to this, share this video. I would love for you to share it if you can. We did have a ton of people signed up for the live training today. And so, yeah, so share it to projectors that you know. Like this video, it helps. As well, and subscribe if you haven't yet. So that's just a little plug. You got to make a little plug, right? Projector lifestyle. Exactly. So today, for those of you who are just jumping on, we're talking the law of attraction, manifestation tools, and human design, the contradictions, and the collaborations, where they intersect, and how do you use them practically to live a life that you really, really love. Right? Because really, ultimately, that's all we want, is to enjoy our life, right? And manifest, have money, have enough money to buy everything we want and live according to our joy, right? And so what we have is we have this high, we have to decipher what tools are valuable and which tools actually work. So if the law of attraction really did 100% work across the board, 100%, a lot more people would be, millionaires and billionaires. And we know that it's still a very small percentage of the population. And we know that there's a lot of factors involved in that level of wealth, right? There are a lot of factors involved. So the most important thing is to know that our lives are complicated. We have karma. We have trauma. We have, really more than anything, we have the patterning of our families and the life we were born into. And that patterning or conditioning has an extreme influence on our lives and who we are. And that patterning is constantly manifesting the life that we live. However, that patterning can be broken. And so we have to decipher the frequencies. The truth of the law of attraction was that we are frequency, and that we do have the power to assist the flow and the frequency of our lives. We are not victims. We are not victims to anything we see. We are not victims to our life. And we are empowered, right? However, sometimes there's a lot of trauma to overcome, a lot of patterning to overcome. It's very hard to shift out of, even if you were born like middle class, to then, bump yourself up into a wealthy lifestyle, right? So switching the classes that you were born into is very challenging. And it's not because of the caste system, right? Unless you're living in India. It's because of the patterning and the conditioning. And so in human design, they talk about the deconditioning, and in other spiritual terms, you might say this as healing, right? Healing the past. Personally, I like the human design concept more, because it just is so clear when you understand the defined and undefined centers. It helps you navigate what you have, where you're stuck. Because I've studied chakras my whole life and never really understood which chakra I was blocked in and why. But when I understood my human design, where I was undefined and defined, it was like my whole life changed pretty dramatically after a full decade of therapy, right? So knowing these things really helps. But yes, healing money wounds and trauma, Lauren, that's the key. So all of the undefined and the defined centers really help you to navigate and decondition. However, sometimes those deep, deep wounds, they burrow in like thorns, and they make it very hard to not repeat a pattern. So like if you've been bankrupt or you've gone through credit card scandal loss or whatever, oftentimes those patterns repeat. So if you've had some type of trauma from your family lineage, those patterns often repeat. Even if you've had a ton of success, even if you've had $1 million business success, sometimes and often I've seen those people have big crashes if they've experienced that in the past, right? So habitual patterns and conditioning, they're part of what we're here to learn. And so the most important thing to know is that whatever you're dealing with is a gift. Whatever's coming forward for you, whatever you're experiencing is a gift. So when we're talking about coaching, and Lauren had asked, well, what about coaches that also integrate human design? I really personally think in this day and age, you shouldn't work with a coach who doesn't integrate human design. Like you have to know a bit about your human design. You have to, or you just cannot manifest. However, there's different levels of integrating human design into a coaching industry, because here's the thing. If you know you're a projector, that's one thing. And it's another thing to teach and be able to live being a projector and actually living it and encouraging your clients to live it. So this is where the problem comes in. If a coach wants you to have immediate results, immediate, success on, let's say you're doing a program called, earn $10,000 in 10 days or in 30 days, and you're not getting the results that you want, most coaches, even if they know human design, I've seen this happen a million times, what they're going to do is, oh, you're a projector, but if you need results, which I need my clients to get results, then what they're going to do is they're going to push some type of system they've heard works, like doing cold calls, doing reach out, doing Facebook ads, doing something. And so they push you to get immediate results. And as we know, or most of you may know, that sometimes you will get results if you push, but they're not sustainable, and they're painful, and they cause burnout. Okay. So even if you don't get immediate results, your coach has to tell you to follow your inner authority and teach you how to trust the system, teach you how to trust the power in that. And then what'll happen is, in order to trust, you have to heal the fear, the pain, the angst, right, of what's coming up around whatever it is that's keeping you from living your design, right? And so healing the past, healing the traumas. Well, how do you heal? And how do you vibrate at higher frequencies, right? So let me step one step back. With manifestation, you have to also decipher what is true about it and what isn't. Okay, so in my humble opinion, after years of study with spiritual teachers, shamans, you name it, there is underlying truths to every system, and there's underlying truths to every religion, right? And so the underlying truth around spirituality and around law of attraction is that we, and even, let's face it, science and quantum physics, right, is we are energy. We are frequency. We are energy. And so when you are vibrating, or when your energy is flowing and it's not blocked through pain, trauma, or habitual patterns, then you're able to really move into higher and higher states of manifestation, living dreams that you would have never been able to dream of in the past. But what happens is you usually come up against huge blocks in order to get to the other side, right? So what's true about the law of attraction and what's true about those tools is that we have the ability to shift our frequency. It's not just through our mind. It's through our energy body, our light body, and through our aura. And it takes attention and consciousness. And so what happens is when you're not able to have attention or consciousness, it's usually because you have some type of pain, distraction, or rumination in your body. So this is a practical, experiential tool for everybody who's here or listening to the recording. Is that when you are utilizing your consciousness and your frequency to focus, what pulls you aside is something that may grip you and pull you into the past. So let me give you an example. Let's say you want to create a business that's bringing in $100,000 a year, right? That's a normal goal. Everyone wants their business to be for, at the 10K mark, right? Per month. So you're thinking to yourself, God, I want to do what I love and I want to have a business or a job or whatever at that a rate of money, right? So you bring your attention to and you're focusing in on that and you're feeling into the vibration and the frequency of waking up and loving what you're doing and feeling the money flow and feeling the frequency, loving your clients, loving your life. And all of a sudden you get this like pain in your heart about something that your friend said to you yesterday and the fight you got into, and your mind just grips onto that, right? Or it could be something like you grip onto the thought that like you may have tried it in the past. Oh, I tried that in the past and I invested $10,000 into a program and I lost all my money and nothing happened. So then when you start visualizing your attention, your focus into the energy and the frequency of what you're manifesting, your mind, your trauma, your wound will pull you in and grip you so that you can't move forward. You're not aligned. You have like a broken ankle. You can't run, right? And so attention is really, really important. Where is your focus? Where is your energy? What's going on in your body? And then once you figure that out via the frequency, the law of attraction, and the energy work, then you need the human design piece to the puzzle. The human design operates on a different plane than your light frequency and spiritual connection to the divine, right? However, human design, like I said, all the systems have truth underneath. Human design, when they say that you're being the witness consciousness and letting your vehicle intelligence guide you, right? That is the exact tool of the mystics for centuries. Because the mind is the thing that actually is the one that's gripping you and pulling you into the ruminating of what you did wrong in the past, what you may not do correct now, what your friend said to you yesterday, or whatever pain or trauma that you've had in the past. So really what you're doing is you're healing your mind in order to lift the body into higher and higher states of frequency. And when you move into higher and higher states of frequency, you're moving out of the density of matter. And so then doors begin to open. Now, it doesn't change if you're a projector. You still need to wait for the invitation. It doesn't change if you're responding as a MG or as a generator, right? You still need to respond. So the energy work and the frequency work and the healing trauma work happen on the meditation plane, so to speak. So it can be happening while you're laying down, going to bed. You know what I mean? That's the best place for a projector, right? That's where we love to do all of our work. So in other words, the frequency, the healing, the energy work can be done at any time, at any place. But you do have to understand and sort through where these two things work together, right? So the first thing, let's go back and kind of overview what we're talking about. So we're talking about the contradictions and what most people believe in the law of attraction and how it fits in with human design. So human design does not usually like law of attraction because they say that it's the mind telling you what it thinks it wants, right? So human design is saying, like, you don't know what you want really. Your vehicle consciousness really knows what it wants. But when you get your mind out of the picture and you really just feel the frequency of what it is that you really do want, right? If you really get your mind out of the view, right? There's going to be the frequency dimension of what it is you're longing for. And that is something that you can tap into right here and now. You can tap into success as a projector. You can tap into that frequency right here and right now. You can tap into the joy of this moment. You can tap into the satisfaction of this moment. You can tap into the peace for all my manifestors. You can tap into the awe for all of my reflectors. You can tap into that frequency, and that frequency aligns the aura, and that aligns the mind, and it aligns the body. And then that's prior to any action at all, right? That's prior to any action at all that you may take. So when you are experimenting, right, with frequency, so another word for frequency might be when you shift your attention and your focus. So if everybody here live with me for 1 minute just would close your eyes and take a second to just shift your focus. So whatever it is you're focusing on right now, whether maybe you're multitasking, you've got Facebook open, you've got this, you've got that, or you're kind of listening, or maybe you're listening, but your mind's kind of thinking about, oh God, I got to get the kids and cook dinner and whatever. So for just 1 second, I want you to shift your attention and shift your consciousness and just allow yourself for 1 moment to feel and scan the body and get really present to what's present. Do you have any sort of feeling in the body that's uncomfortable? Do you have any kind of sense of angst? What is the mind telling you? What's going on inside of yourself? And when you shift your attention and you say, just feel, allow, accept, and let's open to the highest possible infinite source at this moment. Let's open to the highest possibility, the highest frequency, the highest availability, the highest insight that we can possibly get in this moment. Notice that when you shift your attention, your physical vehicle begins to shift. Boom. There's power in that. Attention, frequency. Right? When you bring all of these things together, you begin to align into that higher frequency. And when you're able to shift into the infinite possibility, then the mind actually begins to receive insights and ahas that are more aligned with empowerment. And the aura is clear. So projectors then have a light beam of an aura that begins to attract in, right? So then it begins to attract in, because what happens is if your attention is not clear and your mind is focused on, oh my God, if I don't do this, A, B, and C is going to happen, and you have the chaos of the chatter, you will create more chaos. attention and focus and alignment shifts frequency. That has power, right? That is the law of attraction. That is the spiritual teachings. And guess what? It is a huge part of human design as well, because human design is all about the witness consciousness and giving the power back to a higher frequency of intelligence, which is ultimately what we're trying to tap into. It's a higher frequency of intelligence, right? And that higher frequency of intelligence is what is being right now called for on the planet in order to evolve, in order for humanity to awaken and evolve and mutate. And that mutation is based on if we can, and the leaders are focusing and aligning to that higher possibility and potentiality for humanity. So wherever you are right now in your life, it really is about this moment, right? It's about this moment. However, then after this moment, then what are you going to do? Well, you're going to then take action based on your inner authority and your strategy, right? And then you're going to pay attention to, okay, so I want something bigger for my life, right? So this is the other piece to the puzzle, right? Is that we're afraid to want for something bigger in our life because we don't think we can get it. Or the minute you want for something bigger, then what happens is the resistance gets huge. So in other words, if you really want like a bigger house, let's say, and you're like, okay, well, my business is now making this much and it needs to double. So then what starts to happen is all the pain, the trauma comes back in, right? So then it's like you go, okay, I'm feeling the frequency and I'm feeling great. Now I'm going to take action and now I'm ready to have a bigger income. And then boom, like all the past stuff grips and pulls you down again, right? And so then what we need to understand is what heals that past wound and that past trauma is, again, attention, intention, and love. So self-love, self-care, again, concepts not part of human design that are really important because, you know, there's a lot of wounding around being a projector, straight up. We just do. We have it. And so, and human design does not give you tools in order to heal. Unfortunately, it gives you a lot of great tools for deconditioning, and the deconditioning is very healing. It is. It's a huge healing process. But there are more soothing ointments that you can use as you're going through this, and one of them is the most beautiful and simple concept of all, which is self-love, right? And so when you have a pain, the best thing and most important thing to do is to provide the highest frequency of self-compassion, empathy for everything you've been through, and not try and resist. So whatever business failure you've had, instead of calling yourself a total idiot and you fucked up and you just should never be in business again, you got to make sure that you're turning that around to, it happens to everybody. I'm with you. I love you. Every single entrepreneur has had failures in the past, and that is a soothing ointment that begins to heal the traumas. Very simplified version of that. But so when we can pay attention to how we are bullying ourselves for all of the pain we've been through, the trauma we've been through in the past, and we begin to realize that that bullying doesn't let anything grow. The perfect example of that is a plant, right? The test they did with the plants, when you have two plants and then they bring them in the schools and the kids would bully one plant and it would like die, and then they'd nurture another plant and it would start to really grow. Well, that's what's happening to our souls based on how we deal with the pain, the past, and the trauma. We've all had it. We've all had pain. We've all had business failures. I mean, no entrepreneur hasn't had some business failure. You have to. So we've all had, debt, to some degree, probably. I mean, unless your parents, unless you have a whatever, a trust fund, which, hey, there's nothing wrong with that. But for those of us who didn't, we've worked our own way up. We've had trauma. We've had losses. We've had business failures. Lord knows I've had my share. And if I were to bully myself and say, you should never do this new part of your business, you fucked that up so royally, like that, then you're going to keep yourself unable to. Okay, can you guys see me? Sorry, I froze for a minute. So I think that's a good sign. Can you guys hear me? Trista, can you hear me? Lauren, can you hear me now? I think I froze for a minute. Shoot. I hope you guys got me. All right, so thank you guys for the chats. Lauren says, yes, healing money wounds is so embedded in me. It totally is. And Trista says, so timely. Yes. Wow, I see how that when something happens through me, when something quiet in me moves, rather than what I think I should happen, which is louder. That's exactly it. Yes. Something quiet. The quiet has the power. The quiet has the power, right? So grateful for you. Thank you, Trista. You're so welcome. It's, of course, it's my friggin' honor and joy. Hey, Alina. Oh, good. Okay, you can hear me. Okay, good. It went out for a second, but here's the deal. Let me make my announcement for part 2. So it's free. Okay, so don't stress about that. So part 2 is going to be free too, but you do need a Zoom link. Okay, so that's going to be the difference. So you need to PM me or email me at support@raquelreina.com or PM me. And all you need to do is ask for the Zoom link, and I'm going to do the specific and non-specific based on view. It's so frigging interesting. And I'm going to go through the story of the specific, the non-specific, and how it ties into 2027. Right? So you're going to want to bring your chart. You're going to want to show up live at the Zoom. And the Zoom is going to be really fun because then I can really see everybody and you guys, it's more interactive, right? So I adore you too, Lauren. I'm so grateful for you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Was that helpful for you about the law of attraction and human design? Of course, there's so much more shiz, right? There's so much more contradictions, and the law of attraction has a lot of contradictions and human design has a lot of contradictions. But if you can just take what I gave you today, which is the intention, attention, and frequency, and then applying the ointment of love. By the way, I am innocence and I do have the gate 25. So love is a certain frequency that's really based in my design. However, it is universal. Okay, it is universal and it does make a big difference. They've proven it with the plants. It is, Lauren. It is. It absolutely is. I still feel unclear. Okay, good. So ask your questions if you guys want. I still feel unclear how to know what my vehicle wants, aka what your authority wants, as opposed to what your mind wants. Okay, right? Is that what you mean? Right. So the authority wants clarity in the now. So the authority is going to want clarity in the now. So the mind is going to want something different to happen in the now. Okay? So the mind is going to be telling you something's not right now or whatever. So the authority is going to be a sort of a silent guide. It's a silent inner guide. So I know it's a little bit harder for the mental inner authority, right? So yeah, it's still, so the mental. So one of the things is if you're still not getting it for mental projectors, you got to remember, by the way, Megan and Alina, you guys are similar charts. FYI. Just dawned on me that both you guys were here and you have similar charts. So if you want to be Facebook friends. I was like putting people together. My gate 46. Okay, so such great question. So here's the one thing that I really want you to think about is that the mind is chaotic. And the mind is going to try and figure things out. And it is a lot of chaos, okay? Whether you're defined, undefined, whatever, it's chaotic, right? And so I think one really important thing to note is that there are a lot of different concepts around human design. So ultimately, as a projector, you're not, okay. Ultimately, as a projector, you are not really using your inner authority until after your invitation, okay? So your invitation happens, and then you use your inner authority to decide if that was a correct invitation or not, okay? But what do you do for the rest of the 24 hours of the day and all the minutes of the day that you're living, right? So one of the most important things, this might help you from this perspective, Megan, is not trying to figure out what's correct for you, but trying to feel into the moment of being in the joy. Okay, so you have two things. You have joy and success for a projector when you're on your frequency, or bitterness when you're off your frequency, right? So one of the greatest ways to utilize your GPS system is to wake up and be in this state of am I feeling joyful, or what am I feeling? And trying to help yourself to decipher that first, just in your body, because see, the mind is and especially if you're a mental projector, your default is to try and figure shit out based on the intellect, and it can be a trap, right? So it's a huge trap. So what is the vehicle doing without the mind? And one of the best ways to do is wake up, am I joyful doing this email? Do I feel tired? Do I feel shitty? Do I feel, is this a drain on me? One of the most important things, and this is also human law of attraction thing, is, be in that joy. And then if you're not in the joy, then decipher why not. Are you ruminating over the past? Are you afraid of something? Are you tired? Are you not eating well? Are you angry? Are you in a fight with somebody? What's happening? And then getting super present through meditation into why that frequency is not, aligned. Right. There isn't much that's brought me joy lately, so this process is quite intense. Right. Right. So joy can be a simple bath, a shower, a moment where you're reading something you love, cooking, and if you listen to Abraham Hicks, this is a crazy thing, and I said there's truth underneath every system. It's the same thing with human design, is satisfaction and joy and success, the frequency first. And that's the exact same thing as law of attraction. So remember, it's complicated and simple. And so we do need to understand, what is the thing bringing me the joy? A couple years back, I can't even remember when this was, but I was introduced to my motivation was innocence. And I decided I was feeling so overwhelmed with all of the ClickFunnels and funnels we were doing. And I was just overwhelmed with the online process. And I just wanted to go back to simplicity. And so I started picking flowers. I went in my gardens, I went on nature, and I went out in nature and I started picking flowers. And no joke, I was introduced to motivation. I realized I was innocent. And the next thing that happened, and I am not kidding you, we live on the lake and the community, and the community, all of the entire community, planted white roses. They all, so it was like a week after I had found out I was innocent and all I wanted to do was be in nature and pick flowers and go out and pick flowers. There was a bloom of white roses over like a 2 mile stretch. And so then I started researching how to do pressed flower essences. And there was like no reason for it whatsoever. It was just a healing process for me. I started making these pressed essential oils and then I just started giving them out to my friends. And then it did not turn into a multi-million-dollar business, but my business started to explode. And it wasn't because of anything I did. It was simply because my joy was in with my flowers. And he started like enjoying this process of being with the innocence of the white rose. And it put me in my motivation. And all of a sudden, out of nowhere, everyone was like, oh, I want to do your VIP courses. I want to do your certifications. I want to do this. I want to work with you. And it just all popped for me. And it was simply because I just went into this healing nature. So, and joy can come from reading a book you love. It can be like walking around, taking a breath, doing a little yoga, doing a little flow, get it. So you got to come back to that, right? We're on the same vibe. Yeah, right? It's so wonderful, right? Projectors, that's it. You got to find that first, because if you're pushing too hard, you're working too hard, you're beating yourself up, you're friggin' pushing, you are going to push all your success away. You're going to push it away because you're moving towards it. You want it. You're pushing it. Your angst, your frustration, your bitterness, all of that, it pushes away the success. So you got to feel the joy and success first. And then, boom, things start to happen, right? All right, so I love you guys. Thank you all for being here live. I'm going to wrap it up for now, but I do want to ask you guys to join me next week, next Friday at 3:33. You do need the Zoom link, so just email me or PM me, and I will send you the Zoom link, and we're going to go deeper into this concept of specific and non-specific. What does it mean? How do you use it practically? So I will see you guys on next Friday. You guys up for next Friday? Also, if you're here live and you want to come next Friday, just put a Y in there. And if you want to, well, let's see. You're still going to have to PM me because I need to send it to your email, right? So still PM me and email me. And it sounds cool though, right? Specific, non-specific. So it's a totally different concept. We haven't talked about it yet. I promise you, you're going to love it. It's going to be super fun. Do want to get the link? We'll PM me. Okay, thank you, Megan. Yeah, so PM me, Lauren, Megan, anybody else who's here live, just PM me, and I'll set you guys up. It'll be really fun because we can really chat and we can go deep and we can hear from you guys and what's going on. It's going to be really fun. It's a great topic that I love. So, yes, so much. My motivation is fear. Tristan, so fear is a great motivation. It's not what you think, right? It's not what you think. But we can talk about that next week. Mwah! I love you guys. And thank you all for being here live. Have a great Friday night. I hope you guys are doing some fun and a great weekend. And I'll see you next Friday at 3:33. Mwah! I love you guys.